Hey everybody, this is Vincent. Sorry I'm a little late today. I've been traveling around for Thanksgiving and I haven't had time to make a video in about a day or two, so I'm gonna catch back up with some stuff. Lately I've been looking at y'all's comments and I've been seeing a lot of you guys talking about how Fetterman is too far to the right or Haley is too far to the left to be a successful Democrat or Republican. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about why I think that moderates are the way the political parties need to go. So to start off with, I want to tell you guys about the problems with the more hardline members of each party. Newsom and Vance are some of the frontrunners for the party's nominations in 2028, and they each have the issue of being fairly polarizing. Independents struggle with choosing candidates in elections, not because they are necessarily right in the dead center of the political spectrum, but often because they might be lean left or lean right, but aren't willing to go to the extremes of the candidates on the ballot. And Newsom and Vance fit that unfortunate bill, at least in my opinion. And what a moderate does, as opposed to these polarizing candidates, is they get the message across that, hey, I'm still a Democrat, or hey, I'm still a Republican, but I don't do X, Y, and Z that make you feel alienated by me. For example, if you look at someone like, take Shapiro, for example. Josh Shapiro is on the more moderate side. He's a Jew, and he has fulfilled less of the progressive campaign promises than some of the other people like Newsom or Buttigieg, and would be a lot better to nominate than someone like Newsom or Harris or Buttigieg. And yet, for example, in the vice presidential nomination that Harris was making, she picked Tim Walz instead. And it is speculated that the reason why she picked Tim Walz instead of Shapiro was because Shapiro was a Jew, and that would be somehow unelectable for the Democrats because there's this far left that does not like Jews, is just completely anti-Semitic, and it's specifically the Palestine protesters, and those people would not have voted for a Harris-Shapiro ticket. At least that's their thinking. I think that's not a good way of thinking, but I think there's a high probability that's what they thought anyway. And it's this kind of thinking that, oh, we need to pander to the extreme fringes of our party in order to somehow win an election. It is very unwise, in my eyes, to continue to do that. Both parties have this problem. It's not a Democrat thing or a Republican thing. And I think that instead of going with a Newsom-Vance ticket, a Newsom versus Vance ticket, a Fetterman versus Haley ticket would make a lot more sense. Now, for one thing, I'd like to address some concerns with each of the two candidates I presented today, Fetterman and Haley, that you guys have presented to me in the past. Let's start with Fetterman. First off, you guys have mentioned that because he's a stroke victim, he doesn't have the mental capacity to be president. I would disagree with that personally. I don't think that a stroke necessarily has any kind of impact on your intelligence. It can impact other areas of your mind, but he has stated that he didn't impact his intelligence. And I don't really think that. I think if you're a Democrat that voted for Biden, you can't claim that John Fetterman is not eligible for the presidency based upon his mental faculties. I think you know where I'm getting at there. And I just think that he's overall fine. I know you guys are going to disagree with me there sometimes, but I think Fetterman's a perfectly fine candidate. And I think that his moderate stances on things like Israel, healthcare, things just like foreign and domestic issues in general, he's a lot further to the right than Newsom is. And as a Democrat, you want to be as far to the right as you can without alienating the progressives in your base. That's basically the grand strategy of politics, right? You want to be as far to the center as you can without alienating the people in your party that are further to the fringes. So ideally, the Republican nominee would try to be as far left as they possibly could without alienating the people on the far right. That gets you elected. That's the ideal. So there's the idea that let's pander to the far right in order to get elected. It doesn't work. It's why Romney lost, because Romney was a highly anti pro-life person. I mean, Trump is more pro-choice than Romney was, and it's the same reason why Harris lost. She pandered to the pro-Palestinians. It doesn't work to pander to the fringes of your party, which is why moderates will always do better. Nikki Haley has been called a rhino by some of you guys in the comments, and I think that while rhino is, I mean, honestly, rhino is just a term that has been invented by the MAGA Republicans to denote someone who has gone against Trump. And I think that's kind of silly, personally. I don't see a point in acting like somebody who did not support Trump is not a Republican, because if you don't support Trump, then you're just not a Trumper. I mean, Trump does not own the Republican Party. He's a member of the Republican Party. Not supporting a member of the Republican Party does not make you a rhino. It makes you a Republican that does not support one particular Republican. And because Trump is term limited and he can't run anymore, Haley running for president would not be as a rhino. She wouldn't even be running as against the leader of the party. The leader of the party would be determined through that. So she's definitely not a rhino. I think the term rhino is kind of foolish. I think the only rhinos are people like, for example, Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney's an actual Republican in name only. She has consistently helped Democrats, and it almost seems like she's been intending to do that the whole time. I don't think Haley is anything close to that. I think Liz Cheney is one of the few rhinos that are actually real. Like, I heard some people talking about John Cornyn being a rhino, and I just don't understand that. I mean, he made like a couple of remarks against Trump. Like, Trump is not the face. Trump should not own the Republican Party. That should not be the image Republicans have, because it generally brings them down. Trump is not at all galvanizing for independence. It's just it isn't a good idea to try and rebrand the Republican Party as MAGA, because the Republican Party is not MAGA. MAGA belongs to Trump. The Republican Party itself does not belong to Trump. Anyway, today I want to go through and show you guys what the ideal scenario would be for each party. I've already done this a little bit, but I wanted to show you guys again what I think it would look like. I'm gonna do 4 scenarios real quick. So I'm going to start with Newsom versus Vance. This is what I think is the most likely thing to happen, albeit not the best. In a Newsom v. Vance scenario, Newsom wins Washington, Oregon, California, along with the state of Hawaii, Illinois, Delaware, Maryland, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, and the 1st District of Maine, all by quite good margins. He will win the state of New York by a likely margin, just like Oregon, the state of Maine by a lean margin, plus the 2nd District of Nebraska, and Minnesota by lean, Virginia by lean, and New Mexico by lean. Oh, and New Jersey and New Hampshire. There you go. I've knocked out everything in that regard. Now, this is... Oh, excuse me. I've done the wrong thing. So this is the solid section. This is most definitely not the Democrat section. Alright, anyway. This would be the Democrats' main pickups. This would be their main opportunities. It may also give them DC, because there's no chance of them losing that. This would be the main opportunities there. And then Vance would win, obviously, the states of Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, North and South Dakota, Nebraska, all of it except for its 2nd district that Newsom would win, plus Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, did something wrong, Colorado needs to be solid blue. But yeah, Vance would win Utah, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, and Indiana, and Texas, and Alaska, and the 1st District of Maine. There we go. So this is what the map looks like with the swing states and such. Now, you can see that this is effectively the same map. Now, of course, Arizona is a lean red state at this point, and I would say that there's not a real shot of a Democrat winning Nevada for any time soon, but the remaining states are going to be still relatively competitive. I mean, Newsom would have a high likelihood of winning the states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, which would get him over 270, even if Vance won the states of North Carolina and Georgia. Now, this is what I don't get about the idea of, okay, let's go ahead and, nominate the two people on the fringes of the party. Because you can see it's the same thing as 2024, pretty much, where this is a likely scenario, as is this, as is this, as is even something like this, where this is even possible. And I think the fact here, I'm going to put Pennsylvania as Newsom. But this is kind of odd to me that this is even being considered. When something like, for example, if you sub Fetterman into this equation, you end up with this scenario, where Fetterman would win Pennsylvania by a lean margin, and possibly Wisconsin by a lean margin too, and he would have a shot at Nevada and maybe Georgia. I would say Fetterman would have a decent shot at winning Nevada. I mean, disregard the fact that, it says 35 for Fetterman. Just assume all this is blue. I don't see an opportunity for Republicans to win if it's Vance Fetterman. I think that's a pretty easy win. I also think Minnesota would go up to likely blue in that scenario. So you have lots of things where, if you sub Fetterman into the equation as a popular, moderate senator from a swing state, then you're going to do well. I know you guys have stated personal attacks on the man, and I can understand those from a personal perspective, but looking at just the raw numbers, he's an extremely good candidate. Now, I want to look at the flip side, right? So I'm going to clear this out and just quickly fix it all back up for the solid states, and then I'm going to sub Haley into the equation against Newsom. So let me do that real fast. Let's see, you got Virginia lean, Minnesota's lean, New Mexico's lean, Colorado. Yeah, sorry about this. There we go. Yeah, so you got all that. That's all the states that Newsom would win. Oh, my bad. Forgot this. And that. And I've done the thing again. There we go. I think that's everything. Should be. Yeah, so this is all the competitive states that Newsom would win in. Here we go. And if you put Haley in instead of Vance, the number of states she wins in grows significantly. Because not only does she get all of the solid states that Vance gets anyway, which are not competitive, competing for solid states is absurd. Like, throwing in, for example, Kamala Harris as the vice presidential ticket did not help Joe Biden in 2020. Joe Biden won because Trump was an unpopular president. Harris did not actually push him along at all. But yeah, so this would be the map for her right out of the gate. And then you also have to look at, for example, Arizona. Arizona is still lean red, but Nevada also becomes lean red because Nevada is very libertarian. And Nikki Haley, along with other establishment Republicans, support smaller government, as opposed to the MAGA Republicans, which support bigger government. Libertarians are in favor of smaller government. I predict Nevada going for a lean red switch. I would also predict, personally, that New Hampshire would have a good shot of flipping red if Nikki Haley is on the ticket. That's because Nikki Haley is extremely popular in New Hampshire for some reason. You guys have seen, I'm sure you guys saw it, but in the New Hampshire primary in 2024, for the Republican nomination, that was one of the few states where Nikki Haley was actually competitive against Donald Trump. And I could completely see her flipping New Hampshire the way that George W. Bush did in the year 2000. And in this scenario, she doesn't have to win many states that she did have to win. So, for example, if Newsom wins Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, he doesn't actually win the presidency. Nikki Haley can then go on to win Georgia, North Carolina, and then win. Now, of course, I think she will do quite a good bit better than that. Get rid of those things. Nikki Haley would probably go on to win the state of Michigan, which features a similar small government laissez-faire mindset to the state of Nevada, which is a libertarian viewpoint. So the large swaths of libertarian-esque voters in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan would likely carry her to a large victory there. I could see a tilt victory happening, which, by the way, if you guys don't know my margins, I've updated them a bit. If you would win by less than a point, it's a tilt victory. If you win by between a point and 5 points, it's a lean victory, which is why Arizona and Nevada would be lean. I would see Michigan probably being lean also, with Wisconsin being tilt red, and Newsom maybe picking up a win in Pennsylvania if his VP is Shapiro. But if it's not Shapiro, I don't see him winning Pennsylvania either. I would also see Nikki Haley having a very good shot at winning North Carolina and Georgia by lean margins, which, I mean, you can just see how awful this is for Democrats. It's a 316-vote victory. The only difference between this and 2024 is flipping New Hampshire. So I don't see them being particularly happy about this one. I could even see, I don't see Newsom losing New Mexico, but New Mexico would get very close in this scenario. Now, I've gone through and shown you guys just how horrendous it would be for each party if for each party that nominated the hardline candidate, if the opposing party nominated the moderate. And yet, nobody is talking about nominating these moderates. The top candidates for the Democrats, all of which are supposed to be popular, are relatively hardline. All of the top candidates for Republicans, namely like Vance, Ramaswamy, DeSantis, they are all hardliners. Haley is the only person in the conversation on either party that is moderate. She's the only person in there. Fetterman's not even in the conversation for his nomination right now. I don't think he's even seeking the presidential nomination, which I think is foolish. I think he would win by a large margin. But yeah, I mean, this is what I've been trying to say. If you guys haven't understood, this is what I'm trying to get across from other videos to now, that it is extremely, extremely, extremely important for a candidate to win the independent vote. And the way that you do that is by convincing them they're not voting that far left or right of where they are. So even if they are not in, like I said, the dead center, even if they lean right, J.D. Vance might be too far right for them. Maybe they're a Republican that supports a woman's right to an abortion. Or maybe they're a Democrat that opposes, that is pro-choice, a pro-choice Democrat. There's lots of people like that, people who identify with one party but have an issue that the party platform agrees with that they disagree with. And they can instead find refuge with these moderate candidates that can help to bring those independent voters together. So this is what I was basically trying to get at in my other videos with Fetterman and and Haley. I hope you guys understand now. If you don't, feel free to leave comments. And I enjoy having a substantive debate with you guys in the comments. It's really fun. I've read comment sections from countless other political channels where the comments get, hateful sometimes and just not great. And for the most part, the comment section on my videos is really nice. It's a pleasant place to be as opposed to the hellholes and on other YouTube channels. And I really appreciate you guys being respectful and being honest with each other, with me, about your own personal opinions. And I do enjoy having debates with you guys. It's fun, and it helps me learn about you, helps you learn about me, and it helps all of us learn more about the political scene. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, subscribe, all that stuff. It helps out the channel greatly. Sharing this video will also help me learn what sorts of things you guys are into, whether or not you're into the presidency, the Senate, etc. Just generally helps me learn what you guys want. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and toodaloo!